Okay, so I'm going to do a role play on the FAR, find, argue, and replace technique for dealing with distorted thoughts and unregulated emotions. And so, in order to do this, I've got my client role model, Kimmy. We're going to role play through this. She's actually my daughter, and she has agreed to help me out with this. And we are going to be talking about her graduating from esthetician school and then flunking the test the first time she took it. We're going to go back to that point and role play that experience. So, Kimmy, hi.
Hi.
Listen, girl, I understand what you're saying about feeling really down and out about flunking that test. It's always, do you remember the moment that you found out you flunked?
Yeah, it was right after.
Yeah. What did,
Immediate, yeah, just they put in the information and they come
right.
out maybe like 10 minutes later and the guy's like, unfortunately, you didn't pass. And I was like,
Oh,
oh. Well, I kind of knew it. I could tell when I was taking the test. I was like, I don't think they gave me the right study material. I think I studied the wrong.
oh, okay. So describe what you felt in that moment when he said, sorry, you didn't pass.
I mean, of course I was upset, but I wasn't like shocked. I
Yeah.
was like sad, I
Yeah.
guess. It was actually my birthday. I was thinking
Oh,
I had been studying hard and I thought, let me give myself a nice birthday present and pass this
oh,
test.
oh, and then you didn't. So was
Mhm.
there like sort of ripples after that where you had more emotions as a,
Yeah, I think as I was driving away, I was like,
yeah.
I need to do something to get myself out of this because it's my birthday and I don't want to be self-loathing on my birthday.
So you were pretty messed up about it eventually. Like it didn't hit you right in the moment. And I know for me sometimes it's like I feel like, oh, I'm not too upset about this, but then later it hits me. Was it kind of
Yeah,
like that? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to go through a process with you that I call find, argue, and replace. It's a way of replacing our distorted thoughts, the stories we tell ourselves that aren't true, with things that are true. And there's
Hmm.
a process involved, and it's important to have all three steps of the process. So the first step is find, and you and I have already discussed this, and you have found the core thought, which is I will never be good enough. I'm stupid and everyone else is smart. And do you remember what the other ones were?
Um,
No
no,
point in trying.
yeah, like just give up because you've always kind of had a tough time finishing things.
Right.
So just give up. You're always gonna be kind of like not good enough. So
Right.
yeah.
So let's boil down those thoughts into two or three statements that you were making. So what were you saying to yourself about yourself? You were saying,
Um, Not good enough. Um, Always gonna struggle. I'm always gonna have a struggle. So don't even try.
and then what
Um,
were you saying about other people?
Everyone's smarter than me and everyone's more capable than me.
Okay, and then the last one was what were you saying about the future?
Just give up.
You'll always, like you were saying, I'll
Yeah,
always fail.
yeah, yeah. I always had a tough time in school because of I was going through some emotional things,
Yeah.
and so I kind of just it's I there was a point where I was a really good student actually,
Hmm.
and
I remember you
and
were an excellent.
emotional,
Mhm.
yeah, like in
Yeah.
seventh grade, I didn't even really study much, but
Hmm.
then these emotional things started happening as I entered high school, and so yeah, I carry that baggage with me to this day. And so when I failed that test,
Hmm.
all that trauma from having a tough time in school because of my emotions and like what I was going through
Hmm.
came back, and it was like, see,
Wow.
you're not cut out for life. You're
Yeah.
stupid. You
Yeah.
can't even do, it was like, you can't even do a basic esthetician thing. Cause it's not like I'm trying to be a doctor. It's like, you
Yeah.
can't even do that.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, Kimmy.
yeah.
So, and I remember you in seventh grade and your teacher coming to me and saying, she's a very serious student, and you were a little smarty pants. But then you went through a period of time as a teenager where you were, dealing with some mental health issues, and you stopped caring about school, basically.
Yeah.
And I think what happened is you formed an association between flunking and, oh, I must be dumb kind of thing.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, a side effect of depression is losing interest in daily activities.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what was happening. But I thought it was because I was stupid.
Yeah.
Um,
You started believing you were stupid.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Back into therapist client mode. So what we're going to do here is we're going to, now that we've found the thoughts that were associated with this emotional spin out you had. The thoughts were, I'm not good enough. I will always struggle. Everyone's smarter than I am, and I will always fail. Those are the four thoughts that we're going to look at right here. And
Okay.
let's just take one of them. Well, let's take all of them. And then what we do is we argue with those thoughts. So we're gonna look at a list of what I call distorted thought styles. And in that list of distorted thought styles, you're going to see various ways of thinking that really match what you're doing. So up at the top there, I have your four statements, and then here are the
Mhm.
distorted thought styles that I thought applied to you.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's discuss them, and you tell me if you think I'm on to something here.
Mm-hmm.
Catastrophizing. Explain how that might fit, if it does.
Yeah. So kind of just thinking, it sounds to me like it's either like tripping over the past or tripping over the future and just sort of working yourself up and remembering all the things that didn't go right or thinking about the things that aren't going to go right.
So
And
making it worse than it really was, right?
yeah,
Like, instead of it just being, "I flunked a test that a lot of people flunk," it
yeah,
was, you took all the stuff that was indicative of you failing and applied that to you.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I discounted the fact that all throughout my schooling, I like was getting good grades and stuff. And
right.
so, yeah,
Esthetician schooling, I know, yeah, that's good. So discounting, you just said the word discounted, and that's called discounting positives, where you
yeah,
don't acknowledge the things that are going right, you just look at the negative stuff.
yeah,
Did you think
yeah,
you were doing that?
yeah. I was like, I'm an idiot. I'm
Oh,
just blah, blah, blah.
wow.
Just, just emotional, like kind of emotionally cutting myself down, I guess you could say.
Yeah. And then the second one here is dichotomous thinking, looking at things in black and white terms. Do you think anything like that was going on?
Yeah, I guess like it was like it's like either I was really smart or I was really stupid. I couldn't be like
Somewhere in
um
between.
somebody who really, studied hard but and did really well in school and is smart, but you know, made a little bit of a just common error. I didn't have the right material, and also it's a really hard test that
Mhm.
a lot of people have to retake.
So you kind of were thinking in black and white, like either you're really smart or you're really dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that wasn't nuanced enough, was it? I mean, that's not reality because people don't fall into those two categories. There's a whole bunch of gradations in between, right? And then there's
Yeah, and
different kinds of
also,
intelligence. I mean, intelligence is almost
yeah,
impossible to measure.
right. I
IQ
just think
tests are
it's
no, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna say I think it's a little bit of an ego trap
Yeah.
because I was trying to be like this shining star in that moment
Mhm.
and couldn't accept uh a little bit of a, you know, backslide.
Yeah.
And Yeah.
You were inflexible. I have to either be a brilliant, constantly succeeding student or I've utterly failed.
Yeah, like, if
Yeah.
I'm not constantly succeeding, then I'm stupid like I used to be, which I was never stupid, but
No.
I shouldn't try, just it's kind of like you said, inflexible type of thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember in high school, there was a young man that was a genius and got straight A's, but he ended up taking his life, and we found out it was because he got a C, you know?
Oh,
Yeah. So people can
yeah,
become very black and white thinking is not, it's toxic thinking. All right. So what about emotional reasoning, where you look at your emotions and you think, well, if I feel stupid, I must be stupid or whatever. You think any of that was going
yeah,
on? Yeah,
yeah, sort of like I feel like a failure, so it must mean I am.
that's right.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then fortune telling, you predict the future based on the past,
mhm,
right?
yeah,
And you are definitely predicting the future. I will always fail.
yeah,
Were
yeah,
you
I
Yeah, go ahead.
no, I have yeah, you go ahead.
You were also taking a lot of responsibility on yourself, and you had said later that you knew that you did get good study materials. There was some faux pas that were on the part of other people that you didn't get
Mhm,
adequately prepared for the test. And while you were taking the test, you're like, I never studied this stuff. So it really wasn't all you.
mhm.
And yet you personalized it, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
I knew it wasn't me. I mean, one of my classmates who was like, just such a good student. I looked up to them as a student.
Mhm.
Even they had to retake it. I mean, I looked up to this person like, wow, this person's very smart and very
Mhm.
studious.
Mhm.
But even so, in knowing that, I was still like, you know,
Mhm.
just hard on myself. Maybe
Mhm.
it's something of perfectionism.
Yeah, thus is the power of narratives that we've embraced, and that's what we're trying to work on here. This is one that I think applies to you. Singling, you place yourself in a position of complete contrast to others. So the
Mhm,
example I have here is God's forgiveness is for everyone, but I'm too evil. But another example would be I'm the failure and everybody else is going on to succeed. I'm the odd man out here. Nobody else has failures. You put
yeah.
yourself kind of in a separate category. And then this is kind of related to unfair comparisons, where you view yourself in contrast to unrealistic standards. Like nobody passes every single test and has nothing but banner successes. Everybody struggles at one point or another. And it was unrealistic for you to expect yourself not to mess up at certain points.
Yeah.
So those are the things I thought you were doing. And then
Mhm,
what I what you would do to complete this, and what I want you to do in your journaling,
mhm,
is take those 4 statements that you made to yourself. Well, the first step, okay, so it's find the thought. You did that. Then
mhm,
you argue with the thought. So what you do when you argue with the thought is you tell yourself, and this is an important step. A lot of people don't do this step. They go right to fixing the thought, but it can be very helpful to call yourself out kind of. In
mm,
cognitive behavioral therapy, it's called forceful disputation, where
mhm,
you say to yourself, you say, "You're catastrophizing. Your
mm, mhm,
emotional reasoning, you're
mhm,
comparing yourself, you're singling, or
mhm.
you're discounting positives, and you sort of hold yourself accountable for the stories you're telling yourself. And that's so important because a lot of mental health involves what we call an internal locus of control, where you realize that you have power and that
Mhm.
life doesn't just happen to you, that you have options and you have agency and you have the ability to change things. And so, what you're doing in sort of holding yourself accountable for the way that you're talking to yourself is you remind yourself that you actually do have a choice as to how you're talking to yourself. And
Yeah.
so, if you're doing the FAR technique, I'd have you go through those highlighted, distorted thoughts and kind of dispute with yourself. Kimmy, you're doing this. Kimmy, you're discounting positives. Kimmy, your emotional reasoning, or whatever.
Mm.
Then the third thing is replace. And what you do is you replace that distorted thought with the truth. So you would take those four statements that you made, I am not good enough, and you would tell yourself the truth, which would be a little deeper than, oh, I am good enough. What does that mean? You know, what you would do is you'd say something like, there are times when I fail, and I may feel inferior when I fail, but that doesn't mean that with effort, I could not eventually succeed at things that are reasonably within the realm of my ability. You know, you would say something nuanced and kind of detailed and tell yourself the truth. And that is the truth, Kimmy. It's not just that
Mm,
you're inferior, it's that you have certain abilities, you have limited abilities, we all do. And effort, continual effort within the realm of your limit, your personal scope of ability is going to yield success eventually.
mhm,
Okay,
yeah.
so you would take all four of those statements. So let me just give you one and have you revise it, because I would probably send this home with you to revise all four of these. But let me just give you one and you can do it right now. Okay, you ready?
Mhm. Yeah.
Everyone's smarter than I am. Tell me the truth about that.
Um, there are people who are smarter than others, but you know, to focus on the fact that I'm dumb and everyone else is smart is not helpful to myself. Um, I guess so. The statement I would tell myself is I might not be the smartest person out there, but I am smart. I have a good brain and it's working well.
Mhm. So you're somewhere on the, you know, if you're going to take an IQ test, which IQ tests are notoriously, you know, inaccurate and they don't really measure intelligence. And we all know that because intelligence is so mysterious that nobody can really measure it. And IQ tests, by the way, also do not predict success in life. High IQ does not mean you're going to be successful. Apparently, EQ is what makes people more successful. So,
Mm,
so yeah, so exactly. So, but there will be people that will rate higher on an IQ test and some people that will rate lower. There'll be people that are better academically, have an easier time with academics, and people that have a tougher time. And you're somewhere on the spectrum, right? Of all of human beings. And it's certainly not the case that everyone in the human race is smarter than you.
mhm.
But it's also not the case that you're the smartest one. You're somewhere in the mix of humanity. But tell me, because what I see in that statement, everyone's smarter than I am, is that an attitude that intelligence is a fixed thing. Talk to me
Mm.
about that. Is intelligence fixed or is it something that has some flexibility to it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you can make yourself smarter
That's right.
by reading and exercising, getting fresh air, drinking enough water.
Mhm.
You can stretch your brain. And so, yeah, some people who have the most intelligence often don't do anything with it. And then people who might struggle academically really apply themselves and can become doctors.
That's right.
Anything is possible. I mean, there are limitations if you do have, certain
Mhm.
challenges. There
Mhm.
are limitations, but generally, I think that intelligence is more fluid than we give it credit for.
I love that. Thank you so much for that. That's a great way to sort of summarize that. And by the way, that's called growth mindset in the
Mhm.
academic world. When teachers think of kids as being either smart or dumb, gifted or challenged, and there's very little nuance or flexibility, it creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. But when teachers think and teach their students, you've got a brain and there's
Mm,
lots of potential for how you can develop that. That's called a growth mindset, and it has better
mm,
academic outcomes. So
yeah.
it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for going through the FAR technique with me, and we'll do some more techniques in the future. I'll send those
Yeah.
four statements home with you to journal on them and tell yourself the truth, okay? And don't
All
forget
right.
to What's that?
I said, thank you, Dr. Jennifer.
Thank you. And don't forget to engage in forceful disputation of your distorted thoughts.
Yes.
Okay?
Thank you.
I'll send you I'll send you the list and you can look at those and see what the ones that you're prone to.
Alrighty. Sounds good.
All right. You have a wonderful day.
All right, you too.
Bye-bye.